everyone, how are you doing? I've got all my classical music on downstairs, as you can hear, just in case the dogs get worried for fireworks night. But to be honest, they've had a nice day today, lots of nice food, and the essential oils are all diffusing. And I've got kibble, lavender and guac wood, I think that's how you pronounce it, in the diffuser, and it's working like a charm. They're all up here. Bandit's here because, you know, he always likes to join me on my lives. So your dog is what they eat. So it's all about food today. And I've been actually watching the Pet Nutrition Summit, which is really good, and catching up on that and learning a few extra bits as well. So it's just something I'm really, really passionate about. And the dogs have had a nice tea. They've had some minced beef, and then they've had some roast veggies. So I did a big portion of roast veggies, and then I took some out for myself, and then they've had the rest on their meal with some cabbage as a little garnish, and then a Kong stuffed with some other stuff in there as well. So they've all had a really good feed, and they're really, you know, all lying down there, absolutely beautiful and soothed. So I am Dr. Helene. I'm an A&E doctor and advocate for integrative wellness, as well as an animal aromatherapy specialist. And I love to use essential oils to support the health and well-being of myself and my pets, and helping educate people to do the same for their family, whether that's human or animal. So if you like what you're listening to, please hit the subscribe button or follow so I can carry on creating more content, and let me know in the comments what you want to know about. Would you like to get essential oils into your life or your pet's life? So why not book in for a free chat with me, or come to one of my classes? And the next one I have for dogs is on the 21st of the month, and it's the Healthful Dog Challenge. Now, I ran this for the first time in August. I got brilliant feedback from it, and I thought I'd run it again in November. So it's a lot of extra work, but I absolutely love doing it. And it was just so nice to see the results with everyone's pet dogs. So I was going to say pets, but actually it's just dogs. I am going to run a cat one, but I'm still writing that one. So pop to the link going across the bottom of your screen, and or if you're listening to it, then don't. But if you're listening to it, then the link's already there. But Facebook doesn't like having links on things, so it's going across the bottom of your screen, and register for it and join. It's all free. So it's a good week, and we cover lots of different things, including nutrition. And on another note, you might have oils, but you don't know how to use them. So you can always arrange a little chat with me, or a consultation, because I do that as well for humans as well. So drop me a message or a comment, and we can chat about what option is best for you. So nutrition. So obviously the saying is you are what you eat, and it is the same for dogs. Oh, excuse me, I've got something in my eye. And did you know kibble has only really been around since the 1950s, although it was first introduced in England in 1860 by a businessman called James Spratt. And he was seeing dogs fed leftover biscuits from a ship. So he formulated the first dog biscuit, which was made of wheat meals, vegetables, beetroot and beef blood. But the dogs still got left over, and, you know, basically fed a variety with bones and veg. But now what we're seeing now is very, very different. And, you know, a lot of it actually doesn't even have much meat in it. If you actually look at the ingredients, it's very poor. It's full of fillers and a lot of grain. And really, you know, we are seeing a massive rise in obesity and ill health, and it's no coincidence that it's actually risen in line with the success of kibble. You know, we've seen kibble sales go up, and obesity and ill health go up. And, you know, obviously I realise that kibble's convenient, but can you imagine eating the same thing every day, in and out? And not to mention the nutritional value, because the processing is so low, because all the vital vitamins and minerals get removed because of the heat, and so they actually have to add in these vitamins and minerals. And I was listening to one of the speakers in the Pet Summit yesterday, and I can't remember her name, but she was saying she does a lot with behavior, and she was actually I think it was the other day actually with Connor Brady, and it was someone yesterday as well, but basically saying in studies they've actually seen a massive change in behavior for the better when a dog starts on a raw feeding, but just get them off the kibble and start adding in fresher food and different things, even if it's cooked and things like that. Now, I am vegan and I'm very passionate about a whole food, plant-based diet for humans and believing that is biologically appropriate for us. But obviously the same is not said for the dogs. I mean, if you just look at how their teeth are, they are designed to chew on meat and things like that. And something that does come up is, oh, how can you bear to handle it? And I've obviously been feeding dogs raw before I went vegan. The dogs have a separate shelf in the fridge. But, you know, there's lots of options. If you don't feel that you can handle it, there's loads of options. I mean, one of the minces I have just comes in a tub. It's super easy to spoon out. You know, you don't actually have to handle it. And there is lots of options like that. Or just even adding in some extras is going to be better, because even if you don't feel you can go the whole way, just add in extras. And that's, you know, like I said, my dog's got vegetables today. How easy was that? I just roasted some veg for myself. I didn't roast onions. I roasted the onions separately because I do like a roast onion. So didn't have onions because obviously that's not good for dogs. But just add in. And I think it's really important to say, especially with raw feeding, is that there's a lot of cheap raw about, but actually that's really the crap raw. It's the stuff that's just scooped up off the floor that's not even fit for human consumption, and there's very little nutritional value in my book. So, you know, the whole point of feeding a raw diet is to feed a healthy diet. And if you're feeding the really cheap meat, and it's the same for humans, if you're buying really cheap meat, you're not getting much nutrition out of it, because meat that's been raised, like chickens that have been raised in poultry sheds, workers who work in poultry sheds have to go in with a mask, you know, like one of those respirators on, because they can't, because of the ammonia that's in the air from the chickens, because they are peeing on the floor, they fall in it. And so your meat is infused with wee. So when you're tucking into your 4-pound bird from Tesco's, your meat is infused with wee. Okay. I don't think there's actually much nutritional value in that. Now, obviously I'm getting a bit on my soapbox, but, you know, buy something better and use everything from it. Okay. You can boil up the carcass to make soup and bone broth for your dogs. And I'm boiling up some lamb's broth as what lamb's bones at the moment for bone broth, and it's in my slow cooker, and then I will take all the meat off the bones and give that in the dogs as well. And it doesn't, you know, I'm a busy person, but it's in the slow cooker for 24 hours, and then tomorrow I'll watch something I want to watch on TV, or I listen to a podcast while I'm taking all the meat off the bones. It's as simple as that. It's super simple. And bone broth is such a great add-in, and it's so nutritious. Dogs love it. It's really good as well if they've been poorly, to start feeding them that, and leave out the rice. Rice isn't really good for them. It's I don't know why people suggest feeding chicken and rice when your dog's poorly, because it's actually not very good. Rice is not very good. I actually tend to add in bone broth, and I might just do some gently cooked mince that's boneless, and then I do like oats and sweet potato and pumpkin and things like that. It's really good. So when my dog Evie was in the vets, she had in November, December and March, I went in with a little Tupperware. So that's her, because they said to me, oh, should we feed her afterwards? We'll have a recovery food. And it's like, you know, that prescription recovery food. And I was like, no, I'll bring her something. And I took her in a little Tupperware. They probably thought I was bonkers, but it doesn't matter. But yes, bone broth is brilliant. It helps, and it's great for older dogs or sports dogs and everything. And it helps maintain a healthy gut, especially for dogs with digestive issues. It's very, very mild, supportive for them. It's got loads of great nutrients. It's great for the dog's immune system. It detoxes the liver, helps protect the joints. So my dogs get this. I try and give it every day. I often don't have it. They haven't had it for maybe a week, but you know, it's okay because they're having it, and it's full of minerals, including silicon, sulfur, magnesium, calcium, and phosphorus, and it's super easy to make. So I like to use lamb or beef because chicken's a very inflammatory food. It's very high in omega-6, so I don't tend to use that. You want to go for the organic grass-fed bones because that's better, because obviously then you get into the problem with grains, and it's then just not as good for the cattle, because obviously they've been produced. It's better that they're grass fed, and then obviously it goes down the food chain to your dog. Like I said, you can use discarded bone from your own meal. So I fill my slow cooker up, and I make sure that the bones are completely covered, and maybe with an extra couple of inches in there. And I put 3 to 4 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. So that's the one with the mother, because that makes sure your broth has got all those great gelatin in, that's got all the nutrients in it. cook on low for 24 hours, strain it. Okay, you keep the bone broth and then you discard the bones. Now, I actually pick off the meat from the bones, and it usually produces like a bit of a bowl that big, and so the dogs have that as a bit of a topper on their food as well, just as a little extra. But you can also just actually dehydrate it, so you've got little treats as well. And then you can add in some extras like kale, broccoli. I like to add in chopped mushrooms as well, so really, really good. And so I tend to give my 10 kilogram dogs about a tablespoon of that, and then large dogs 2 tablespoons with their meal, but I just sort of slop it in. But it's really, really great. There's so many toppers that you can add into the dog's food to mix it up if you are just feeding kibble or just as an extra. So as I said, I added in some root vegetables, but they have kale or broccoli. They absolutely love broccoli. I've actually lost broccoli before. Apple, banana. One of my dogs only likes cooked apple, so I tend to cook it for them. The other dogs all eat it raw. That's fine. And just playing around. Things they shouldn't have is raisins and grapes and onions. They can have garlic, but very small amounts. So like a clove of garlic, mashed up. Maybe you could add a couple of minced cloves into your bone broth as well, just as an extra. That would be really lovely. The book Forever Dog by Dr. Karen Becker is really worth reading, and Rodney Habib, really worth reading. It's got some great ideas for toppers in there as well. And I'm always, because my dogs are all fed raw. And other things I like to do is I like to get chunks of meat as well, not just mince. So I'll often go to my local farm shop, and they have they're discounted for quick sales. So I buy it, and then I'll cut those into chunks for them, and they really like it. And other things to add into the food. Make sure they're having a good omega-3 oil as well. So I actually use the doTERRA IQ Mega for my dogs because it's just so good. It's a really, I'm fully, what's the word I'm looking for? A fan of the purity of the oil. That's the problem, because a lot of oils, you want to stay away from farmed fish, because if it's just like they're intensively farmed, it's exactly the same as you're getting with the meat. So you want to stay away from the farmed fish, and just use wild. So I think there's like wild salmon oil is very good, or krill, but never farmed. Now, plant-based omega-3 isn't as bioavailable for dogs. So I've really noticed the difference since I swapped over from using that. So I just stick with their omega-3 from marine sources, and that's the doTERRA IQ Mega. And you want to give them about 1,000 milligrams per 10 kilogram of body weight. And I also add in essential oils. So I have a variety of those, but they all get copaiba. They all get DDR prime, because they're just so good for the musculoskeletal system. So obviously I have got dogs that have got, either sports dogs or disabled dogs. But DDR prime and copaiba is also very good for cognitive function as well. So I've got dogs that get a bit older. I've got dogs that are anxious as well. So they're really supportive for the nervous system. And then I might add in turmeric essential oil as well for a couple, celery seed, which is good for the urinary system to support that. There's so many different things. And then a couple of my dogs have frankincense as well, because it's very good to support the nervous system, and it's very good to support the musculoskeletal system. So just think about a bit of variety. And if you are feeding kibble, I don't mean to sort of shame you or anything like that. Just try and get the best kibble that you can afford, and just add in some extra things to it to make it more exciting for them, so that meal times become a bit of a treat, and you can have a lot of fun with it as well. So my dogs, I always they either have platters or a Kong in it, and it stops them wolfing it down, but it also just makes meal times a little bit more interesting for them, because you imagine eating the same food every day, it would get really, really boring. And it's really good, like tonight they've had a really good meal, and it's taken ages for them to eat, and then they all took their Kongs to the beds, and they were just having a good, and it was the same last night. It was just, it's a really good way, and you can use it, and you can also divide, if you're doing a lot of training, you can divide those meals up into smaller things to train some specific things, but that's a whole other story. So I hope that helps. Do register for the Healthful Dog Challenge. As I said, it starts on the 21st. I look forward to seeing you there. Have a beautiful night. I hope the fireworks are okay for your beautiful doggies. Stay safe, everyone. Stay well. Bye.